And it is official, like I say, Sasha Banks is now the Raw Women's Champion. What's up, Maniacs? My name is Mex. I'm a wrestling fan, a wrestling enthusiast, a WrestleManiac, if you will. And today we are discussing Raw. Monday Night Raw was back on our screens and we have finally got a Raw Women's Champion. I probably wasn't too happy with the way it went down, but it has been done and we are going to discuss that and more in today's review, so stay tuned. Right here at WrestleManiac UK, I discuss everything that is WWE and AEW. So if this sounds like the place for you, make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you get notified every time I drop a new video. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get into the review. So the show kicked off with Randy Orton calling out Drew McIntyre, and this is the match that we've been rumored to get for SummerSlam. Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton. Randy Orton came out listing off his accolades and he basically came out and said, listen Drew, you have something that I want, WWE Championship, and I'm gonna meet you at SummerSlam for it. Very straight to the point. There was a bit of waffle in terms of his accolades, but to be fair, this was very straight to the point. I'm calling you out. Randy Orton's been doing some really good work at the moment. He's dispatched off Edge, Christian, Big Show in recent times, a couple others in between in some other little sub programs he's been involved in. And yeah, I think it's right for him to be deserving of this place as the number one contender for the WWE Championship at this precise moment. So he did lay out the challenge and I guess we'll wait to see if Drew replies or not. As Randy Orton was going back up the ramp, Nia Jax came down and Nia Jax got into the ring and said, I've just heard Randy say that he wants to be the WWE champion and, you know, I want to be the Raw Women's Champion. And more or less, I've screwed out on my last opportunities. Charlotte Flair came in and inserted herself when I was challenging Asuka for the championship. Now Charlotte's injured. I want my opportunity again. Shayna Basler soon came down and just told her, listen, shut up, no one cares what you think, and they got into quite a physical confrontation. They were split up by referees and then their match was actually scheduled for later on in the night. So to officially kick off the action, we had Angel Garza, Andrade versus Viking Raiders versus Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, and this was a number one contenders match to see who will take on the Street Profits at SummerSlam. Street Profits were on commentary during the match and it was pretty much the faces versus the heels. Ricochet and Cedric were kind of working with Viking Raiders to take out Andrade and Garza. As you can probably imagine, a lot of high-paced action in this match, a lot of great spots. We saw even Ricochet and Andrade at one point working together, which kind of went against the grain to take out Eric from the Viking Raiders. In the finish of the match, we saw Ivar go up top and he done a senton from the top rope to outside of the ring on top of Ricochet, Cedric Alexander and Eric, which took him out for the rest of the match. Cedric Alexander found himself back in the ring in the wing clipper by Angel Garza, and once he put that on him, 1, 2, 3, Angel Garza and Andrade are the number one contenders for the tag team championships, and they gave Street Profits a bit of an attack after the match. Street Profits currently are the longest reigning Raw tag team champions since it's become the, you know, separate brands Raw tag team champions, but I can see Garza and Andrade picking up the win here at SummerSlam and becoming the new tag team champions. What do you guys think of who will become tag team champions at SummerSlam? Let me know down below in the comments. We then circled back round to Nia Jax and Shayna Basler. This was time for their actual match from the brawl that happened earlier on in the night. And this was very much a brawl again. It looks like they want to give Shayna some type of prominent position, but I don't understand why she just can't get past Nia Jax in this instance. And Nia Jax seemed to be no-selling everything that Shayna done. Yeah, she's the bigger woman, but Shayna is a cage fighter. Like, she has accolades outside of WWE. Like, she really does this thing. And it just looked like Nia Jax was too powerful for her. The referee ruled a count out over both women as they were brawling outside the ring. More referees came down, officials came down to kind of separate them, pull them apart. The referees and officials got hurt in the process. And now that I'm thinking about it, they had two segments within this show which were basically the same and there was still no outcome. So, like, what was the point? Where are we going with this? We might find out in the next weeks to come. We had a segment where Seth Rollins and Murphy came out to the ring and Seth Rollins basically said that, look, I know Dominik Mysterio's in the building tonight. Come down to the ring. Let's sort out our problems face to face. Dominik hesitantly came down, but he wasn't here for any talking at all. He came, attacked Seth Rollins straight. Murphy obviously got involved, and as Seth Rollins and Murphy were laying the beating on Dominik Mysterio, Aleister Black came down to make the save. Now, I say to make the save, he just got victimized again. His bandaged arm was targeted again. And to be honest, I'm not really enjoying Aleister Black's involvement in this storyline. He has so much more to offer, and I just feel like he's just being wasted here. His mystique is completely dying because he just gets beaten all the time. And I don't mean necessarily losing matches, because he still has a pretty good win-loss record. But same way, he's not looking strong. At the end of segments, he's not standing tall, if you see what I mean. He's just getting beaten up a lot. So I know it's a bit too late to say, but I don't really want him involved in this kind of storyline anymore. And to be honest, I did think this whole thing was done with the eye for an eye match, but here we are, still fighting, still bringing it up. However, after Aleister Black was dispatched off, Dominik Mysterio came back wielding a kendo stick, hitting Murphy, hitting Seth Rollins, chasing them out of the arena. And to be honest, Dominik Mysterio was left standing tall at the end of the segment. Guys, if you are enjoying this review, please make sure you hit the thumbs up button, give me a like. It goes a long way for my channel and I thoroughly appreciate it. Next up, we had a match between Bobby Lashley and Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali is looking massive since his return. He looks really jacked, looked like he's been working. However, the result was inevitable. Bobby Lashley picked up the win here. Mustafa Ali really sold for Bobby Lashley during this match. Like, it was crazy. Same how Ricochet did a couple weeks back. Just the way these guys could just throw themselves around, it really emphasizes Bobby Lashley and makes him look really good. And I have one question here. I know MVP isn't really the United States champion. Shelton Benjamin is the 24/7 champion. These guys hurt business. They're looking like they're covered in gold, looking like money. Bobby Lashley is still beltless. He has no championship to hold, and the way they are still building him up, where does he actually lie within the title scene? Are they going to circle back around to him versus Drew at some point, or him versus the WWE champion, whoever that may be? Because they're still building him up despite his loss, but he doesn't seem to have any target. He doesn't seem to have any focus. You see what I mean? Like, it would be interesting to see all of them with championships. I mean, for me, that's always the look of a successful faction, when they all have championships. And like I say, I know MVP isn't really the United States champion, but these guys look good together, and I'm sure they can do something with Bobby Lashley. Maybe it's just a matter of timing. But he picked up the win here against Mustafa Ali with the full Nelson. Now, the match we were all waiting for from Extreme Rules, to be honest, because we knew we were going to get the rematch, Sasha Banks versus Asuka. And again, a brilliant match. In recent weeks, I've really enjoyed Sasha Banks and Asuka going up against each other. The amount of talent that these ladies show is unbelievable. And despite them having quite a few matches, new things are still coming out, new moves, new holds, everything. Like, this match was fresh, as if I hadn't seen these two come together before. Again, for long parts, I felt like Sasha was on top. She was working on the knee of Asuka, and Asuka was looking like, how am I going to win this match at times? There was a point in the match where Sasha Banks tried the old Eddie Guerrero trick, throwing the belt at her opponent and then pretending that she got hit, throwing herself down to the canvas. However, the referee saw it and said, listen, I can disqualify you just for that. Get up, get your act together, let's continue. I would say both ladies really tried their role in this match. It came down to a part in the match where Asuka was on top, and then the Titron turns on and we see backstage footage of Bayley really laying a beating on Kairi Sane. Kairi Sane was completely helpless, people. Bayley had thrown her into a ladder, thrown her into the wall, was laying a beating on her on the floor, and throughout this, Asuka was trying to stay focused on the match, but at the same time she was watching the screen. And this became increasingly harder when Kairi Sane started yelling out, Asuka, Asuka. You could hear her calling Asuka for help, and Asuka is trying to make the decision here. Do I continue my match? I am fighting here for my championship, the Raw Women's Championship, or do I go and help my friend who is calling out my name and receiving a beating in the back? Asuka chose Kairi Sane, and Asuka hobbled out of the ring and ran towards the backstage area where Kairi Sane was. Now obviously, as per the rules of this match, the referee started counting, and when he reached his 10 count, Sasha Banks obviously became the Raw Women's Champion. Asuka reached the back, Bayley ran off, came out with her belts to the ring to celebrate with Sasha, and it is official. Like I say, Sasha Banks is now the Raw Women's Champion as per the rules that Stephanie McMahon put in place last week. Now a lot of people didn't like this, but I really like the Extreme Rules finish to this same match where Bayley and Sasha basically stole the Raw Women's Championship. What I'm not too happy about this time is that we didn't get a definitive winner in terms of a pin or a submission. I would have liked Sasha Banks to actually pin Asuka, and as much as yes, we want to protect Asuka and Asuka's brilliant, I feel like you need that. You can't really become a champion without pinning someone. As much as I am happy Sasha is Raw Women's Champion, I would have liked her to pin Asuka for it, or make her tap out, one or the other, so that it's definitive. But anyway, we move Sasha Banks double champion, Bayley double champion, and these guys deserve this. They've been doing brilliant work, and they are pretty much carrying the company on their back. I would say at this point it's those two and Drew McIntyre, especially during this past couple of months where it's been very hard in terms of programming and booking. These guys have been brilliant and they deserve it. After their match, we had Charlie outside the doctor trainer's office waiting to get an update on Kairi Sane. Sasha Banks and Bayley burst in celebratory fashion, enjoying their win, and leave the scene. Soon after, Asuka comes out of the doctor trainer's room and Charlie asks her for an update on Kairi Sane, and Asuka is livid. She goes into yelling Japanese at the top of her lungs. I even think she was crying. Tears were coming from her eyes, and I really hope that this unlocks like some different kind of Asuka now, like just a different breed. She goes on a complete tear through the women's division until maybe she gets her championship back. Next up, we had Murphy versus Humberto Carrillo. This was a good match. We often see these guys tangling along with the Aleister Blacks, Rey Mysterio, Seth Rollins whole feud, and Humberto Carrillo probably hasn't been on TV in a couple of weeks, but this was really good. And what kind of surprised me here is that Murphy picked up the win on his own, a clean win. I failed to mention earlier on, we did see some extra character work with Murphy when he pushed Aleister Black's eye now into the ring step. So are they going to do something here with Murphy? As you've probably been seeing in recent weeks, he didn't seem completely on board with the eye for an eye match and how far Seth has taken it with Rey Mysterio. So Murphy picked up a win here against Humberto Carrillo. He had a bit of storyline play out earlier on with the show with Aleister Black as well in regards to eye for an eye, and Seth Rollins as well. So maybe we're going to see something with Murphy in the next couple of weeks. Last but not least, we had the champion come out, Drew McIntyre, for his match against Dolph Ziggler. And when Drew got to the ring, he first addressed Randy Orton's comments at the top of the show, and Drew McIntyre basically said, "I accept." There's nothing more to say. Drew McIntyre has set the scene with Randy Orton for the WWE Championship at SummerSlam. He just came out and accepted the match, no problem. He was fired up and then wanted to get on with his match on the night. So Dolph Ziggler came out, and like the Extreme Rules match, Drew McIntyre told him there and then what were the rules. And the rules were basically, they had an Extreme Rules match at Extreme Rules, but only Dolph Ziggler could have the Extreme Rules in his favour, but now Drew can. So all in all, it was just an Extreme Rules, no disqualification match, and Drew really dominated this match. There was a part early on where Dolph Ziggler was throwing Drew into the ring post. There's also a part later on where Dolph Ziggler got a low blow in on Drew, but apart from that, this was a complete whitewash where Drew McIntyre dominated the match, and he got the win with a table he had previously set up in the corner. He claimed Dolph Ziggler through that table, 1, 2, 3, and Drew McIntyre got the win. But celebrations were cut short as expected because Randy Orton came flying out of nowhere with an RKO. Randy Orton stood over Drew McIntyre's body and said, "I told you you'll come out of nowhere and you can't do nothing about it." He picks up the WWE Championship, and then we fade to black. The show is done. Do you guys think that Randy Orton is going to pick up the WWE Championship at SummerSlam? I think he's been doing some terrific work over the last 5-6 months or so, but I do think that they are quite invested in Drew McIntyre, and this is just another big name for Drew to beat. But let me know what you think down below in the comments. If you enjoyed today's review, guys, please make sure you leave me a like. Like I said earlier, I thoroughly appreciate it. And if you are new here, welcome. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you get notified every time I drop a new video. WrestleManiac UK signing out, and I'll see you soon.